Oh boy, have we got a fun one from the archives this week. This is John Hoffman, your co-host of United 96. And this week we're going to revisit the Hernán Losada interview, which was very cool for us as a podcast because we were the first podcast to talk to Hernán as he came to DC United. And then nothing else happened, and he left very normally, and no one has anything complicated to think about Hernán Losada and his time here. Yeah, so just listen to this podcast and, remember all the things you thought, and then remember how you feel now. Vamos.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees podcast. Ted here, John is here, and we are joined by a very, very special guest, the man who's going to lead us into the future of DC United, Mr. Hernán Losada. Hernán, how are you doing, my friend?
Thanks. I'm doing tight. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right into it. How's your week been going? I know you made the rounds on several different official MLS media types, and you had kind of just gotten the job and couldn't really say much. But how's your week been going? How you been keeping yourself busy? I guess all the way in Belgium right now.
Well, a lot of paperwork to get ready here in Belgium. After 15 years living in Europe, you can imagine you have a lot of crap need to throw away and put a lot of things in boxes and try to fix everything to make sure that when I leave, everything is settled over here. And in the meantime, we are waiting for the paperwork, for the visa. So I try to catch up a bit of all the games of DC last season, games of opposition, trying to learn as much as I can from my squad, from my roster, my players, and the moment we meet, I already have a clear view about the team and about the competition.
Well, I'm sorry you have to watch games from last season. It was not the back half is much better than the front half. I don't know how far you've made it in there yet, but yeah.
Oh, I even watched games of 2 seasons ago with Acosta, with Rooney. You had a period that the defense was very solid, a lot of clean sheets. So I also been watching games from 2 seasons ago. And from every game you can learn something, different systems, players who play in different positions. So was good to catch up and see many games.
That's good. I think that there's definitely there's good times from all of those years. You can put them together. If you put the good from both parts of the season into one, we've got something cooking. Leading off that, there's been a lot of speculations about preferred formations. I know that when you got hired, a lot of us were scouring the internet very, very urgently, trying to figure out sort of, what your tactical reputation is, what your formational preferences are. And a lot of DC United fans are very interested in tactics and philosophy. Would you say that you like to fit the pieces that you have into your conception of the way that you'd like to play? Or do you look at what you have available and then say, this is the best way forward with what I have? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think you mentioned as last, if you are a coach with a fixed system, with fixed ideas, and you arrive to a squad not much in the way you want to play, then you don't want to succeed. So I think that the modern coach needs to adapt to the profile of players you have available at that moment, and that's why a coach be prepared to train and to work in different systems and learn what's the best for the squad or the roster you have at that moment. I'm going to give you an example. When I took over in Belgium, when I took over the first team, I didn't find that the team has the potential to play with a back four because the fullbacks were weak on one-on-one situations. So we needed to play with a back three with fullbacks who are a little bit more concerning and a little bit more offensive. And then later I did the preparation season, and we started the competition in first division. I started to play also many games with back four. So I don't have a preference system. It's up to me to find what's the best system for the have right now at DC United.
Talk a little bit. I guess you're obviously a young coach. I believe you're the youngest in the league, if not one of the youngest coming into the league this year. Talk a little bit sort of about maybe that adjustment period. What maybe surprised you, sort of adjusting from being a player on the field to sort of behind the benches, other than you can't strap on your boots and go out there if you see something bad,
Go fix it.
fix it.
I have to say, by moments, and definitely the moments that it goes well with the team, I enjoy a lot more the coach than being a player. When you are a coach and you are on the bench and everything what's happening, it's like you plan, like you train, like you expect it. Yeah, you get that type of adrenaline that is amazing to feel. And as I said, of course, you are one of the team. You are one of the 11 players on the pitch. You are one of the 20-25 players in a squad, and the coach is the leader. You have to keep them together. You have to work a lot on mental coaching, on give attention to those players who are not getting enough minutes. I mean, it's more a psychological work, and I love that. I love that. I've been reading a lot, learning a lot from a lot of trainers, and I have to say that coaching is very exciting, and by moments it's even more exciting than being a player.
That's good. I would always imagine there would be a lot of frustration. I know for your predecessor Ben Olsen, I imagine in the early years was very much considering naming himself the substitutes and just hopping on there when he could. In a lot of the other interviews you had last week, you were talking about the attractiveness of MLS to you as a destination, and that's an interesting comment. Also, because I think that American fans have such a conflict in their own mind about what this league is. Like, what does this league want to be? Does it want to be one of the best in the world? Does it want to be a selling league? Where does it actually see itself? What are the things that you noticed from watching it from afar, or from when you had? I think I read that you had Jelle Van Dam was either a former teammate of yours or a friend, so you got to see sort of some of the environment. What about what you saw made you think, A, I want to coach there someday, and then B, that this league is maybe better than its reputation on the continent?
Well, first of all, the infrastructure and organization. You have a country that has a culture for sport. You guys are very competitive since you are kids, since you are young, starting with universities, at school, and that attracts me a lot. That winnings mentality and organization and infrastructure that you have been building on the last couple of years. When you see the stadiums that many teams are now building are not anymore the old ones where you are using for American football, baseball, concerts. No, now every club is building his own stadium. You don't see anymore all stars ending their careers at the MLS. You also see a lot of young talent, and that makes that the MLS now has also another speed. The speed of the game is much quicker and much higher than years ago. So I really think that the MLS has potential. I mean, in the short term, also become one of the biggest competitions in the world.
We like to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to. I want to talk a little bit. You highlighted. I'm going to refer back to some of your previous interviews again. You highlighted some of our young players: Moses Niven, Kevin Paredes, Griffin Yao. What other players have you? You maybe had some time to watch some tape. What other players have you maybe notice and sort of say hey, I think I can come here and I can get the best out of them?
Well, you mentioned the young guys, they did it very well. 17, 18 years old players like Moses, Kevin Paredes, that the minutes that they got, they did it very well. But I also believe that there were some players with big potential that came with some expectations, and for many reasons name it, they didn't perform the way or even themselves expecting. And I'm talking about Edison Flores, about Yamil Asad, about all the forwards players playing up front who couldn't score enough or not as much as they expected. So I think there is potential to do better than what they have been doing the last season.
Quick follow-up there. You mentioned Yamil, and you've been watching the games. What did you think about the experiment of putting Yamil in the middle of the field for the last, I think maybe 5 or 6 games? He's been traditionally a winger for this team. I think last year he had very uneven performances. I think he would probably attest to that too, either by injury or probably rust after not playing for quite a long time. But he had a turn playing in sort of in the 8 position, and I think he did really well. Fans were really excited about that. I just wanted to know if you had noticed that sort of tactical change for him, and if you had any general thoughts about it.
Yeah, I know him from Argentina. He used to be a winger, like you say, where he can make his actions on, especially those 1v1 situations against the line. But I also think he could be a creative offensive midfield player that with a little bit more of freedom and closer to the 16 of the opponent, he could be dangerous. I saw those games that you mentioned where he played more as a mixed controller / offensive midfield player, more number 8 position. He did it quite well, but I don't believe that's his best position. Yamil, he needs to play close to the 16 of the opponent, where his actions could be dangerous and where you can create scoring chances or give assists. The closer to the 16 of the opponent, the better, I believe.
Got it. Sort of following on the question, I think that this might relate to the last question about the young players. In your conversations, both in the interview and then after with ownership, what do you feel like was the most important directive they gave you? Was it, we feel like we got to make the playoffs this year? I think that's probably an assumption, maybe, hopefully. We want to get the best out of these young players. What did you feel like this is really what they really want out of me?
I had the feeling that they were ready for a change, for a new air, for new principles, for a new idea. Of course, they invest a lot of energy and efforts in the academy players. And with my experience working with the under 21 in Belgium and working with young kids, and also I'm a kind of coach who give a lot of possibilities and opportunities to the young players, and I try to develop them the best possible way. That was one of the points. But actually about challenges or a goal for this season, I think it's more kind of a process. The first year we know it's not going to be easy. It will be my first season. We need to be careful with budget and players, and so I believe that the first season is going to be a kind of a challenge season for all of us. But of course, we want to win more than just 5 games. We want to achieve the playoff, and we will try to do that. But I believe, and I have the feeling that the first year is going to be probably an adaptation process year, knowing exactly what we need for season number 2 and season number 3.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that one more thing. You mentioned sort of this year. I think we all understand sort of the budget environment. I think we would be crazy to not realize every single business and every single line of work is being hit that way. Do you feel like you, in the process of understanding that this is a process, this is a multi-year vision, do you feel like you have, not necessarily club assurances, I wouldn't want to get into those conversations, but do you feel well supported going forward to do what you'd like to do beyond maybe sort of, we're talking about budget this year, but going forward, do you feel like you're going to have the flexibility to add pieces that you want to add?
Like I told you, I think for the first season it won't be easy. Also the financial situation of all the clubs all over the world, all the companies are having trouble due to less income than normal due to the pandemic. So you need to be careful. Sometimes you need to be creative. You need to find solutions with less budget. Try to find young guys or players who are doing not so well the last couple of years. But I insist, if we bring something, and I hope we bring something for this first season, it has to be something that is going to make us better. It has to be better than what we already have. And otherwise, we need to manage to get better results with the roster we already have. And I believe that's possible. But doing crazy things or spending millions on players that you don't even have the guarantee, I don't think that's the moment. So we need to build up. We need to take it easy. And first step, try to get the best out of the roster we have. And I believe with 2-3 players on key positions, we can manage to fight for one spot on playoff.
All right, we're going to go to some of our questions we got from our supporters over at Patreon, patreon.com/RFQRefugees, if you would like to support the show. First question, I'm going to get from Matthew Doyle. I think on the lines, what do you think is your best attribute as a coach?
Positivism, even and mostly in difficult moments. Positive coaching when things are going wrong, to give that feeling to the players to keep on trying, never stop trying. The moment you stop trying, the moment you give up, you give the chance to the opponent to win. And when you fail 1 or 2 or 3 times, go for the 4th one and go for the 5th one. And that psychological point of view, to stay positive, to stay together in difficult moments, I think that's one of my biggest attributes.
We have a number of questions about the captaincy, which is interesting to me. We've got Arthur and Matthew Doyle have both, or I'll sort of try to summarize the general questions. How important do you view that role in the team, both on the field and in the locker room? What kind of responsibilities do you normally assign that position? So how much, are they the go-between for you with the team? I feel like you're a young coach. You probably have a lot of conversations and relationships with the players. I would imagine that's important to you. So how do you view that role, and how important it is to the way that you run your teams?
Captain is important. For me, captain is a lot more than wearing a band around your left or right arm. You need to show and be an example for the group. And also you need to represent the group by giving the example. And I believe you need, as a coach, more than one captain. You need 4, 5, 6 captains. The more captains you have, the easier that it will be for any coach. And we have a few good personalities in the team. I've been talking already with many players, and based on experience, based on time spent at the club, based on games, but also based on personality, dare to share your feelings, your ideas, and most of all, represent the group with your example. I think those are the qualities you need to become a captain.
We got another question from Jeffrey Cook. What expectations have you set for yourself for this year, or for taking this job?
Expectation number 1 is to have an identity. That we all know when you are watching DC United, what kind of game we are playing. What was the plan? What are we doing? What are we doing when we have the ball, and what are we doing when we don't have the ball? For a neutral supporter, you put the TV on and you watch DC United, you know what kind of team we are. I think that's the challenge number 1, to find the right identity for this roster.
Hernán, it's like you were listening to our podcast a couple weeks ago. That's a verbatim thing I think we've been asking for about a year. Is that? So that's wonderful to hear. We've got more questions here from Colin Ritchie. Would love to hear your thoughts on the similarities between DC United and Beerschot. We had a Flemish. How close was I? we had some Flemish lessons on our last podcast. They clearly did not stick. But as far as similarities between sort of the youth setup, and obviously you're learning a lot of this stuff still, but sort of budget, the club ethos, how what the community tie is to the team, and then sort of on top of that, what are some of the things you're looking to bring from there to here? Some of the things that you really think are special about that club that you would want to make DC United replicate.
I would like to bring my European mentality based on discipline, on structure, on working hard or being together, respect the rules, respect the policy and everything what we're gonna decide to do together. Here in Europe, especially in Netherlands, in Germany, in Belgium, discipline is very important on the field and outside the field. And a bit comparisons between Beerschot and DC United, very fanatic supporters, especially at home. You feel the support, you feel a great atmosphere. So trying to be hard to beat at home. We need to make a fortress out of our home games. And for the rest, not many similarities related to infrastructure, organization. Beerschot was 7 years ago in 5th division. They were bankrupt, and they managed in 7 years to come back to 1st division. So from the point of view of organization and stadium and facilities, there is a war of difference. And
you can get someone to sneak you into RFK Stadium, get a sort of secret tour and see what they were working with the last couple of years before they moved there. You might there might be a little bit of similarities. It's just raccoons.
I really saw it.
Sorry, just didn't mean to interrupt.
I already saw the facilities. I know they are quite old, but I know the club is working on the new facilities, on the new complex. Hopefully this summer will be ready, and the stadium is fantastic. The stadium is really amazing. I can't wait to play on that stadium, full of supporters.
One sort of, I had one question that sort of ties to that. Have you thought about where you want to live yet? There's with the facility. So today was the news about the Loudon breaking ground out in Loudon. And I don't know what traffic was like in Antwerp, but this will be worse. Whatever it was like, I can promise you this will be worse. So have you been thinking about if you want to be closer to where the training facility is and you'll be spending more days, or closer to the city where it's a little bit more going on?
Without thinking too much, I would like to live closer to the city and closer to the stadium. And if I need to drive or to spend more time on the road, I think I will do it. But I'm a kind of coach who, and I already did it many times, a lot of times. If I need to sleep at Luton and at the new complex, I will sleep over there, and I will spend a few nights there to avoid that traffic that you're talking about.
We have a lot of time to listen to podcasts, and there are just so many good options for you to do that. So that's good.
And picking DC is a good option because you'd be the neutral option. There is a Virginia-Maryland inner rivalry between the fan base of whether Virginia's better to live. You got two Virginia guys here, so picking DC is a good choice because you're right in the middle. You can be neutral in the whole thing. So completely joking. Producer Brian has a quick question. You talk about the fan base. I'm sure you've been well aware. There's a huge Latino connection to the fan base. But this is the first time we've had a coach from Central and South America. They've all been. We've had Bruce Arena, several other coaches, but they've all been white Anglo Americans. What does it sort of mean to you, maybe, that you are the first Latinx coach at DC United?
Sounds nice. Sounds like a challenge for me to to represent the best possible way all those Latino fan base. I know there are a lot of supporters, Spanish-speaking supporters supporting DC United. I also have a lot of Latino players in our roster, in our team. And for me, after 15 years speaking Dutch, French, and several other languages, it would be a pleasure for me to talk English and to communicate in my mother language with all those supporters and those players in my team.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're excited for that too. I think that as observers, it's always been interesting that as you watch sort of like Instagram and see how the players sort of break off into cliques, usually there's a language wall, and that's really what breaks it down. All the Spanish speaking players will hang out. They'll all be having a mate. They'll all be out having their own barbecues, and then the American players will be off doing something else. And the team over time has tried to like get the players Spanish lessons so they can converse more freely. But it'll be really nice to have sort of a central point that understands both camps and can communicate natively or at least very fluently with both of them. So I think that's only going to be good things for both team chemistry in the locker room and just maybe hopefully performance too.
Yeah, I believe it. That's something positive. I already felt that during my chats with some of them, with some of the players, to have a coach who can communicate in several languages. I can even speak, and I already spoke with Frédéric Briand in French, and the fact that the player can communicate and express themselves in the mother language, that's a huge advance for a player, but also for a coach.
What one more question, Ted, from me. So what we're running now. We're running up to the end of the interview, and we again appreciate you taking the time. I wanted to talk about specifically this season. We've got some players that are coming back from injury. Bill Hamid, Steve Birnbaum, both recovering from, and that's the very central part of the spine for the team. We've got all these new draft picks signed, so there's some new faces. There's going to have to be, depending on when the season starts, some shuffling potentially about where you'd want to have your first choice 11. How do you feel going into, again, not knowing when the season's actually technically going to start, because we still have to ratify the CBA and get all those things sort of laid out before even getting a chance to work with the team? How do you feel? Do you feel optimistic? Do you feel like it's going to ramp up a little bit as everyone comes back from injury and you get to sort of impart your philosophy, or are you feeling generally pretty good?
No, I feel good. I'm optimistic. Of course, it's not the best possible scenario when you have 3-4 important players. I hear about Paredes. I hear about Steven, about Bill, about Felipe. Yeah, those are important players that won't be ready to start preseason. So we need to be creative, and we need to find some replacements on those positions. And that's a little bit our work together with Dave, with the people of the club, to be creative. You know that this transfer window now, December, January, it's quite complicated to find players who are ready and could give us an extra window transfer during July. There are more possibilities, but of course you are already 3-4 months or a couple of months already busy in the competition. And as a coach, you want to have your squad and your roster available from day one to have a good preseason, because that's the moment where you build up your principles and you build up your team. But okay, we will see. We will have a couple of meetings next couple of days with Dave and people of the club, and I'm positive. We will find some solutions with our budget to replace those injuries or players who left last season.
We love this optimism. We're an optimistic group. I think the change comes at the right time for the fans, for the club, for the players. So we're really excited to hear your optimism and your hopes for this year and the coming years. So absolutely. Ted.
Yep. Hernán, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. We're going to let you get back. I'm sure you got a lot of things that you got to get to today, but thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be looking forward to this year. I think we're all very, very excited to have you on board.
Thanks a lot. The same from my side. Looking forward to meet you all, supporters, people from the club, and I hope and I wish supporters can come back as quick as possible so we can have some very nice and exciting home games with DC United this season.
Looking forward to having Out of Field Rocking. Hernan, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again so much to Hernán Losada for joining the show. I think he made me more excited about this season than I have been in a long time for this club, for sure. So that was a great interview, and I think we got the best one. I know I'm biased, but I think we got the best interview out of the bunch.
First fan interview. I think it's important. I think he really valued getting to talk to the supporters directly. I think that he knows that that's a really important bond, and that they're going to be there whether he does well or does poorly. They'll be in his Instagram mentions. That's the downside of him already having an account and being an active. He will hear from us. We don't shy away. But anyway, so we thank you again to Hernán. If you're listening to this, you've already subscribed to the podcast, so great. But if you're new to the podcast, make sure you subscribe. You can find us on rfkrefugees.com, and then after that, we're on every platform that exists. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitch, we're on livejournal.com. You name it, we have some sort of platform.
We don't have a TikTok yet.
Not yet. We're thinking about it.
We're thinking about it. Yes.
We want to appeal to the
Gen Zers out there. The Gen Zs out there. Yes.
The millennials. Show. So we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. But thank you again for joining us, and make sure that you follow us so that you can hear all of the crazy stuff we talk every week.
Yep, and if you are not tuned into the YouTube show, you will hear our sort of regular show that we do live every Monday at 8:30. So definitely jump into those. We do call-ins. We want to hear from the fans. So definitely check those out. We try to do them every Monday, obviously the off-season. If there's no news, sometimes we skip it a little bit. But during the season, we try to be every week, every Monday. So definitely check those out if you want to get involved with the show, because that's what this is all about. We will look out for our show on Thursday, and we will catch you guys down the road. Vamos.